We have a lot to get through. So good afternoon. My name is Mike Amoroso, and I'm the Client Success Manager here at YourStake. I'm joined by my colleague, Jack Cassidy, our Marketing Manager, who will be monitoring the chat, and then Robin Wood, our VP of Business Development, who will be presenting the second topic for today a little later on. Welcome to our fourth community session in this series. Today, we'll be going over the institutional questionnaire, and then Robin will be covering the company screener. If you're just joining us and missed the previous three sessions, we'll be sending out a follow-up email that will include the links to the previous recordings as well as today's recording. That said, I did want to let everyone know that we'll be recording this presentation. Jack just hit the record button as a resource for ourselves as well as others later on. We're going to start by looking at our institutional questionnaire. The primary use case of this tool would be to collect a value set for members of a board or a large institutional client or endowment. All right, so I'm going to share screen here with you quick. All right, to begin with the institutional questionnaire, we'll go into prospects and portfolios, just like when you log in, and then we're going to click on orgs up at the top. Some of you that are following along at home may not have this feature if you're not subscribed to our analyst terminal tier. If this is the case, please feel free to reach out to Robin or myself after the webinar if this is something that you might be interested in or something you could possibly use. Happy to have a discussion with you on that later. As you can see, we have a list of fictitious organizations I created for demonstrations. Today, we'll create an organization from scratch so you can kind of see the workflow. And then to do that, we can click on add an organization here at the top. You would start by adding in the organization's name, as well as including the members of the organization. You can add an existing member that you may have already loaded earlier, or you can create a new member. When it comes to the new members, the only thing that you're going to be required to provide is their first name, as well as an email. We do not use the email we do not email your clients. However, we do use the email as a unique identifier on the back end of our platform. So that's the purpose of that. In a recent update, we also included the ability to customize the questionnaire as well. This gives you the ability to either omit or include particular questions. As you can see here, you can just toggle them off, on, select all, all off. So like I was saying, you have the ability to add, you could omit or include questions. If you'd like to add additional questions specific to your firm, please reach out and we can discuss how we can work with you on that. But we will go through these questions in just a few. So if you didn't have a chance to read through all those questions, that's fine. I just wanted to show you the functionality of being able to turn those questions off or on if you so choose. Now, after we enter the names of the members in the organization, we want to save our organization by clicking on Create Organization. I've created an organization already, so I will go back and we'll use that organization just because I pre-populated some of the responses that members of this fictitious organization would have provided, right? So again, just go back to orgs. And for today, we're going to look at the Bracy Chambers Foundation, right? Once you've added the members, if you hover over the names of the members, excuse me. Oh, if you hover over the names, you'll see like a little silhouette in gray here. This just establishes one of those members as the admin for the group, and that'll make a little bit more sense later on when we go through the presentation. So once I've added all the members of the organization, created the organization, I then want to send the questionnaire to the individual respondents, right? So I'm going to copy the questionnaire link by clicking on the link in the question link column in the pop-up window. Once I've copied that, I would then, in a real world situation, email that to that particular client. In this case, we're just going to open up a new tab and post that in there. Your client will then go to a title page that will be branded with your logo, provides a brief explanation, and confirms the client's personal information. The client will then go on to confirm and start the questionnaire. Earlier, I mentioned that we could establish the organization admin by clicking on the silhouette when we were creating the organization. And this is important because, as you can see, the admin is the only person that can enter the information for the first 3 questions, or questions from 1.1 to 1.3. So this has all been pre-populated, and this is why I built this before, just to save time so we could go through each one of these. So we'll scroll down to the bottom and we'll click next section. And then the first section for the non-admin user will need to input information is in the goals section, right? So for this one, I'm going to select shareholder relations up at the top. Also want to create a positive impact on the world, risk-adjusted returns, and align with the values of the organization. And this is great for identifying what's the goals of the organization. And with each member filling this out, you'll be able to identify some discrepancies. And I'll show you some examples of that when we get later, a little bit later on. All right, so we'll click on the next section here. And in the next section, we're going to look at responsible investing strategies. This is a great section to uncover your client's understanding of responsible investing and help guide you to where the conversation needs to go and how to start that conversation with clients. So for this one, I'm going to click on responsible investing, negative screening, shareholder engagement, and just kind of each one that I think is relevant. It also provides a brief little definition or explanation of each one of these areas as well, and then confirms to see if they have any questions about this. So for this one, we may say, and then, what are your expectations or reservations? So we'll just say none right now, just in the interest of presenting this information. And then we're asking, like, how familiar are they with responsible investing, sustainable investing? So this particular client, she may be, very familiar with research that's gone on in the past 5 years. And for example, you can identify like how they interpret materiality. So for this client, we'll say that ESG factors are material to financial performance. You can also identify how their current approach to investing is aligned with their missions, and identify if there's any discrepancies in how they perceive that alignment within their organization. And then you can even identify if they're personally invested according to responsible investing principles and strategies. Next, we're going to look at cause areas and select areas that matter to the organization. We'll start by selecting tiles that the user feels are relevant to their mission. And this is similar to the values picker tool that we discussed in our 101 session. Similar to the values picker, we can add additional tiles to this section to include different values. Some of you may have clients that are faith-based. We have value sets that are pre-built with metrics that map to those cause areas. If there is an area that you would like to have included, please reach out to Robin or myself, and we can work with you on adding that to your subscription. After cause areas, so for this one, I'm just going to click on environmental protection and racial equity. And then after cause areas, again, similar to, or after we select those tiles, similar to the values picker, we would select which of these metrics are very important or not, or least important to our mission, right? After cause areas, we're going to look at manager profile. This section allows you to look at applying diverse managers or managers with a particular focus. So for this one, we're going to prioritize diverse managers. We also want to include those that are utilizing the RI's responsible investing strategy, responsible investing, as well as those that have made net zero commitments, right? And then in our last portion of the questionnaire, we're going to look at how the clients would like to apply values-based investing across the portfolio by asset class, right? So we can look at, first, we're going to look at equities. You can say all. We'll look at fixed income, private assets, cash allocation. And then we're going to ask if they would like to have a dedicated carve out within the portfolio as well. We're going to look at what particular types of frameworks we would like included at the in an IPS. At the conclusion of this presentation, we'll also provide you with a sample IPS or a draft IPS statement. So that's where this question in particular is focused on, is what to include within that IPS. And then you can also ask them, like, what types of resources they're looking for. Are they looking for just being able to report out, or are they asking you to include some education on how to become more aligned with their mission statement? And then finally, if there's any questions that they may have that we haven't covered in the questionnaire, we have 6.8 here, which serves as kind of a catch-all that they can open up that dialogue. What I really like about our institutional questionnaire is, one, I think you can all attest that it is incredibly difficult when working with an institutional client to get all of the members in the board into one room, one Zoom, whatever. Additionally, there are some that may feel slightly different about their mission than others. And it's difficult to uncover all of that in a large group setting. The institutional questionnaire kind of circumvents that initial meeting of understanding what their group values are and allows each one of them to be heard, and then it allows you to kind of skip a step to having a conversation and identifying where there may be some potential gaps. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit. So once we finish the questionnaire, they'll get a notification that they've completed it. You should also receive an email. There was the ding. You should also receive an email notifying you that somebody else has completed the questionnaire, prompting you to go back into your stake, go back to orgs. We're going to look for that organization. And then from here, we can view the results. So like I was saying before, Harold here is our admin. So Harold filled out the first 3 questions in the questionnaire. Next, we're going to look at those organizational goals. And from here, we can see that Violet was, or we can't see that it was Violet, but we can see that one person filled out that shareholder relations were important, where create a positive impact was important for most or all of them to some degree. This may be an issue we want to discuss, and I'll show you kind of an example later on. So Violet here is asking about shareholder engagement strategy, but then Harold and Brian are both asking questions about divestment as it was related to this previous question. So that's an area that there may be a question with this organization. Should they take more of a shareholder engagement approach, or should they take more of a divestment approach to their portfolio? You can identify that daylight within this tool right here and be able to have that conversation. That's what I meant by my comment earlier about being able to kind of circumvent the initial fact-finding meeting. You can utilize this tool to do that. And then while maybe some other advisors that are trying to work with this client are having that conversation, you then instead could dive a level deeper and be able to identify where there's gaps within their organization. There may be opportunities for you to educate them on what it means to invest according to their values, or you may have to send them back to do some homework to have a discussion internally and reach consensus around an issue. All of that is you're able to kind of highlight and identify here within the results portion of the institutional questionnaire. And then again, you can just go through each section here and identify where there was maybe some difference. Harold and Violet seem to have a very strong understanding of responsible investing, whereas Brian may be a little shaky on that. So that's something that you can address with Brian separately. You can also look at, for example, Brian's the only one that's not invested personally according to his value set. So that may be an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with Brian. If he's in this organization and cares about these values, he may also want to be able to apply that to his personal investments as well. So again, there's an opportunity that you can garner additional clients as well. Right, so now we're looking at all of the cause areas. They've all felt that each one of those cause areas after we selected the tiles were very important. So those are These are all metrics that are going to be included both in the value set that we create for them, as well as that IPS statement that we'll get to in a little bit. Everyone wants to prioritize diverse leadership, as well as SRI principles and net zero commitments. And then we can look at, seems like everyone wants to at least apply an SRI approach to all of their asset classes, but you can see, Brian, who we identified earlier, someone who's maybe a little bit unfamiliar with SRI investing, maybe had some questions about market rate returns. As a result, that's somebody that we can address on a one-on-one basis and help establish that consensus within the group. And it provides you all of the results for each one of those questions that we went through previously. Then again, Harold and Brian emphasized, sustainability development goals, where that was not a priority for Violet, right? And then, true to form, we thought that Brian, based on his questions, may be a little shaky on values-based investing. And that's one of the things that he's asking for, in addition to the ability to report out on the non-financial performance of their portfolio. After we've gone through these questions and we kind of reviewed them, made our notes, we can then go to our sample IPS statement. This is not by any means a complete IPS statement, but certainly gives you a lot of the language that you may want to include in the IPS statement that you provide as part of your portfolio or proposal to the client. This concludes our institutional questionnaire presentation. I'll pause here for questions before handing it over to Robin for the company screener. We have some comments in the chat. Okay, we had a question about question 3.6 to include uncertain as a possible result. I think with that one, if I remember the question correctly, it's like they are material, they may be material, or they're not material. I think for someone that may be uncertain, that would fall in the maybe possible scenario. But if that's something you want to talk about with us further, by all means, let's set up a Zoom and we can chat and see how we could possibly customize that for you for sure. Generate a print copy of the questionnaire. Let me see. Go back. Nicholas, when you asked that, were you referring to the results of the questionnaire or just the whole questionnaire as a whole, like a blank one, like a paper version? Paper version. That's something we can provide to you for sure. Yeah. All right. If there's no other further questions, I'll hand this over to Robin. She's going to cover the company screener.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Let me share the screen. Okay, should see my screen now. For those of you that have access, to the company screener, this will look familiar. For those of you that don't have access, just to give you a brief explanation, like our fund screener, you can apply your screening or your value sets as your screening criteria, and you will load in the universe that you want to start from. So our default when you come into the company screener is just the S&P 500, those underlying companies. You can load in a portfolio that you've created or uploaded. Maybe you're starting with a client's portfolio and you just want to see if there are any holdings in this portfolio companies that should not be there or that conflict with your client's values. You can, close that out a little early. You can also type in a fund. So like I said, we're starting with the S&P 500, but you could certainly type in a larger universe, maybe the Russell 3000 or the ACWI or something like that. You can also type in multiple funds. That would be your starting universe. So I've got my universe loaded here as my starting point. What is the tool going to look through? And then I just need to start applying screens. So I'm just going to turn a couple of these on so we can take a look at what the results or kind of the output is. So from selecting just a few of these metrics, I see that we have already flagged 77 companies from the S&P 500 for exclusion. Now, what I can do is click into each one of these tiles to see who those companies are, again, within your universe, the S&P 500, that were flagged for exclusion. So bribery, corruption, and fraud violations, this is a metric where you can sort of set your threshold. So maybe this is my client's most important or what they value the most. They don't want to own any companies that have that are paying a lot of fines for bribery, corruption, and fraud. So right now we're just flagging the bottom 10%. So I can increase that and say flag the worst 40% of all companies in the S&P 500 for exclusion. So of course we're going to see more companies flagged for this. And then each company that gets flagged, you will see kind of the total value of fines that they've paid, and also the fines that are itemized out, so you can see them individually. And you can expand these, collapse them as you need to. So you get what companies were flagged, and then the reasons or the stories why for each of those. And of course, with deforestation producer exposure, this is binary. So they're either doing it, involved in it, or they're not. So this one is not a threshold. It's just, it's on or off. Like all of our other metrics within this tool, you can see, kind of why, the reasons why. Now, if I want to see all like the companies that were flagged for what, I can just take a preview here. This is going to list all of the companies in the S&P 500, and I like to sort by the number of screens or the number of flags that a company has, so that I've got the companies at the top of this list, so I can see, in the S&P 500, if there's a company that's getting flagged more than once, like Halliburton, First Energy, GE, these are companies that I, maybe definitely don't want to own. Some of these companies that only have one flag, maybe as an advisor, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to eliminate them, but I want to see what they got flagged for. Any questions there on this preview? You can also load in your value set. So let's see if the value set will populate here. So I'm going to load in the custom value set for that Gracie Chambers Foundation. So I have their overall values here, so we can see the ones that they all, sort of collectively chose as important. And now we have 54 inclusion flags. So we're flagging some companies to include in the portfolio because we do have inclusionary and exclusionary metrics. And then we have 232 companies that we want to flag for exclusion. So just by looking at these numbers, I bet we've got some companies that are flagged for both exclusion and inclusion. Now, when you come across something like this, I think what's really nice is to see sort of all at once with this kind of preview, those inclusion, exclusion companies. You can also download these lists. So it's just a CSV or Excel file. Then you can take that file, sort with it, and upload it to where you need it to go as well. Maybe that is, you know, an exclusion list or somewhere within a trading system that you use, or your CRM, something like that. Like the other ones, you know, we can just click on here. This one is an inclusionary metric. So we're flagging companies that are clean energy companies. So we've flagged them for inclusion in here. And again, we can take a look here. I personally like to sort by show me the ones that are flagged for the most exclusions. So it looks like Ford and Berkshire both have 5 flags against them. Do they have any inclusionary flags? And it doesn't look like it. What I can do here is just a sorting by column. So it looks like these are the companies that I've got both exclusion flagging and inclusion flagging. So this would be kind of the point where you either want to talk with your client, or maybe they've already conveyed to you what is most important of that set of values. You know, what should we do with Tesla? They've got 3 flags for exclusion, 1 flag for inclusion. So which kind of route do we want to go? And here's that inclusionary right here column. And if you want to sort for a particular, maybe your starting universe was ACWI or was the Russell 3000, and you just want to sort for a particular company or ticker symbol. You know, I just typed in the first letter and it's giving me all of the companies with, you know, F in there. So you can do, you know, quite a few things in this preview page, but it is pretty much just the same information that you get as a downloadable file. Any questions or concerns at this point? Let me check the chat. Maybe I can ask the group here, does anyone want to share or have any sort of use cases that you might have a question about? We could run through sort of an example or how you might use the company screener, what you do with those downloads.
Hey, this is Andrew.
Andrew?
Maybe I missed it, but just following up on the question I put in the chat about trying to identify trends in metrics. I don't know if you showed that, because I think Michael wrote you might be able to show something in a downloadable report.
Yep. So that was to Bill's question previously. Your answer is when I was saying we don't currently have the historical information, but that is something a few advisors have asked for and something that we're working on. And then, you know, for us, one of the issues, and by all means, I'm saying this, please provide us with some feedback, is like kind of where to display that information. One idea we had is being able to create a portfolio, put the date in there of the time that you would like to look at it, so that you can compare the same portfolio 3 years apart, 5 years apart, whatever, and do like a side-by-side comparison in our reports tool. So that's kind of the direction that we're thinking about heading towards. But if you have a better idea of how we can display that information so it could be useful, please let us know. It's something that we're working on. It's just not necessarily an easy build.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm envisioning is like 3 arrows, like up arrow, sideways arrow, down arrow, to show, depending on the metric, either improving or getting worse, or the same, basically
In the company screener.
on a particular metric. Like if you have
Yeah.
more penalties, more fines, more carbon, it would show that it's getting worse. Or maybe if it's the same, it would be static. It would be, a flat arrow. But if it's improving, it would have an up arrow.
Okay. Yeah, and then maybe we can just create something where there's a baseline that you would like to start with. So, up, static, or down from 3 months ago, 3 years ago. However.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great feedback.
Is it possible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, I can.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Is
Thanks,
it
Phil.
possible to take a list of stock tickers that I'm following and using in various portfolio models and just dump them into the place of the universe where it says S&P 500, so that I can then just push them through the sieves the sieve that I create when I select the issue areas over here?
Yep, absolutely. So the first step that you'll want to do is come over to you. So you've got that list of ticker symbols. So come over to your prospects and portfolios, create a new portfolio, and you can name it whatever you'd like, maybe your watch list or your buy list, and then just upload it as a CSV. So we'll need, like any other portfolio that you create by uploading a file, we're going to need the ticker symbol or the security symbol plus the additional column of its corresponding value, whether it's the dollar amount or percentage. If you're just simply tracking specific securities, you could set this to just equal weights or something.
Right.
And then what you would do is you come back over to the company screener, and from the universe, click on the little edit pencil, portfolios. You see the list of all the portfolios. We have a lot of kind of demo sample portfolios in here, but
Okay.
just start typing, the name of it, or if you don't have a ton of these, like we happen to have, you'll see it there. And then you just select standard look through and it will populate for you.
So if we see a lot of flags for a particular company or just one for a company, where do you click to see, okay, what actual event triggered that, or what source reported something, and what is it exactly that they reported?
Great question. So you'll kind of have to do 2 parts here. From the flagged companies list, you can see number of flags, and then if they were flagged for one of the things that you chose. So this particular portfolio, Public Service Enterprise Group, was flagged for air pollution in minority communities.
Okay.
Delta Airlines was as well. So is Kimberly-Clark. Now, where that source of data is coming from, you will want to go out of this particular page and just click on that, and you can see the source. It might be kind of in small print on the view
On the
here
screen
for you.
share. Yeah,
But it's purple. Right
Yeah,
underneath the little picture, it's purple. That is the source of where we're getting that information. You can just click on it and it goes to that.
Okay, great.
And then what you can do too is you can download that across the universe. So you'd have all of this information, all of those companies that did get flagged, you could download that as its own file as well.
Yeah, and I would just add that if you drop that drawer real quick.
Yep. Mhm.
Just make use of those buttons up at the top, right? So there's the
Right.
applied. So to your question, Bill, like after you've gone through and identified what companies were flagged for what, click on the applied tab. So now you've narrowed down all of the metrics to only the ones that you've applied in your screen. So you can at least start there and be like, oh, that's right, I was looking at bribery and corruption. Or if you feel like you've narrowed down your universe too much, right? If you go 4 buttons over, there's those 3 little lines. Those are your threshold metrics. So you may want to loosen up a metric, and the ones that you've applied within that threshold category will be highlighted in a darker color. So just go into that metric, reduce the threshold down, and then rerun the company screener. The ones to the left of that are the positive binary and the negative binary screens. And then we also categorize them after that in the subsequent buttons to the right, based off of those 5 categories that we use in our reports. So that's a really I feel like those tools are kind of underutilized, but it's a great way to save you time and having to flip back and forth and look for something.
Yep. And also the little search box right here, you can search for a particular metric as well. And then just to, the different colors is really what category or what have we categorized each of these metrics under. So the accountability metrics are this sort of darker blue color. Environmental metrics are the lighter blue or teal color. Equal opportunity orange. Health metrics are purple, and then your human rights are kind of the yellow color.
That is very helpful because there are so many of those little squares there as you begin to get them organized into categories. But that color coding, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Mike said, sometimes these get overlooked, and it's easy to overlook, like, okay, I've got, what are all these different colors mean? Is that good? Is that bad? It's just corresponding with the particular category that metric is in.
Is there a shorthand to separating out the binary? It either is or it isn't. The ones that score on a range.
Yes. So this button right here is positive binary metrics. So you'll see we've got a bunch of different colors in there.
Yeah, it's got a positive sign there. That might be a clue.
Yep. And then and then this one is for negative binary metrics, which we have more of. These are exclusionary. And then these are those threshold metrics. So we have, it's just a way to sort of categorize things. And again, you've got metrics from different categories that have threshold levels. Metrics from different categories that are negative binary, on or off, exposure or not exposure. Same with that positive. Different categories, but they're either, they're either exposed or they're not.
Okay.
And the top issues is just a quick way to see, what are some top metrics that folks are clicking on. And then applied, the metrics that we chose from this particular screen set that I loaded in. Again, it's that little folder icon. And let's say, I added the bribery, corruption, and fraud violation to this screen set. What I can do is save this as a new screen set. So custom value set plus bribery. And then I can take this screen set and apply it throughout the site as well, like you can any other value set that you've created. Yeah, really great questions. I'll stop sharing here for a moment.
And so it'd be a good transition unless there's any other pressing questions for Gabe to show off some new stuff.
Oh, I was actually thinking Robin would show the
I can go through it.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just
That's
here to
okay.
help with Q&A if people have questions on the feature roadmap.
So, sorry, let's get over here. So, one of the newest features that we've been working on, and you've probably gotten some messages from us, or maybe you already have access to this tool. We're calling it the portfolio checkup, portfolio analysis, whatever that may be. You can get to it if you have access to it from your menu bar here. And as we said before, the general idea behind this tool is it doesn't have to be for values alignment only. It can be for, any client, any prospect that you get a statement from, a portfolio statement from. You can upload that statement, and I've sort of taken the easy way out and uploaded this before the meeting started. But what we provide after you've uploaded a statement, a PDF statement, right, is you can download the holdings. So you'll have a file right away of all of the holdings in that statement, which from the discussions that we've had with our clients and prospects is a very manual task to look at a client's statement and then have to enter all of those holdings in maybe a proposal tool, your CRM, a trading tool, whatever it may be. So right off the bat, you get a workable file that you can then upload to where you need it to go. And what you can see on the screen is just kind of a basic analysis. So you do get the holdings right here. Any corresponding fees, if it's a fund, in here, and the security type, of course, the value coming from that statement. Sector breakdown here, get a nice little graph that when you hover over, you can see the portfolio compared to, and my comparison, I just left it at VOO. You can change that to another benchmark or another portfolio, maybe one of your model portfolios or something. Coming back here, asset class breakdown. This particular account statement that I had did not have any bonds in it. Of course, if there were bonds or maybe something that wasn't classified, maybe it's a below the statement holding that just happens to be reported on a custodial statement, that would show up here. And then we do give you a little bit of detail about what's going on between this portfolio and whatever you're comparing it to. So this is dynamic. It will change depending on what you've sort of uploaded as the portfolio, and then, what the comparison is. And this, oh, go ahead.
I hate to reveal my ignorance, but this tool is part of what I'm already paying for with the institutional level subscription.
Good question. This is going to be it can be a standalone feature where you can add it to your subscription. Right now, we are giving our current clients access to this for free.
I'll take it.
Right. That way, the only thing that we ask in return is provide us with some feedback so that we can continue to make this tool even better.
Did I understand you to say that, let's just say I go to National Financial Services and print out or download a PDF of my client's latest monthly statement.
Yes.
I can just upload the statement and this
Yep.
system is going to read it and give me this breakdown?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that alone we've heard is very valuable.
And Bill, just a quick thing to jump in. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. So you don't even have to do it with a statement. You can select any of the portfolios that you've already uploaded your stake.
Mm-hmm.
and just
Right,
select
right
that.
here. Mhm.
Then you can select any of your portfolios that you've uploaded into your stake or any benchmark as your comparison portfolio and get an
Mhm.
instant analysis. What we found can be really helpful for that brokerage statement side is if you get a prospect that sends over a statement, that's often when you don't already have the holdings in your system and you just get a PDF, and that's where the extraction can be really helpful. But if you just want the analytics, then you don't even need to do it from a PDF. You can just select any statement that you've already or any portfolio that you've already gotten in your stake.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Same with the compare. You can choose one portfolio that you've already got in your stake. Thanks, Gabe.
Sure.
Just a quick look at the returns. Volatility. I'm just kind of quickly going through I see we're coming up on time here. Volatility, fees from fund expenses, the market cap breakdown, and then what you can do is export this into a PowerPoint presentation. And I think I have done the share only my screen. So bear with me here. So this is kind of that output. It's just everything that we looked at, and some of these pages you can remove from the presentation if you don't want to include them. Say you don't want to include the fees, the sector breakdown, the volatility, whatever it may be. You would just go back onto your page here, take that off so it doesn't even get included in that PowerPoint presentation. Or after it becomes a presentation, you could simply delete the page as well. But we at least give you the information that's here so you can share it with a client. Any questions? I know we've got about, looks like 10 minutes left. Or Gabe,
So,
any comments?
Hey, this is James Brewer. Sorry,
Hi, James.
I'm not on screen, but that picture looks better than what I look like right now.
No problem.
So have you had any particular issues with uploading Edward Jones statements into the portfolio checkout?
James, I just noticed that one. I believe the issue there is actually that the statement did not have any ticker symbols listed. It only had the names of the funds. Right now we're just pulling the information that's included on the statement itself. So if it doesn't include tickers, we're not imputing tickers. That said, we are working on a button that's called Magic Ticker Fill, where it takes all the names of the funds that don't have ticker symbols on all the retirement statements, which is the most common time when you don't see ticker symbols.
Yeah.
And it will give you its best guess as to what the ticker will be and its confidence level. So that part is coming soon, but for now it's just taking the information from the brokerage statement, and it will, as long as ticker symbol is included, then it will give you all the analytics of everything tied to those ticker symbols or QSIPs. It doesn't have to be the symbol.
So alternatively, if I go and manually put it in under a portfolio for a prospect, then I can come back to portfolio checkup and then use that, what Robin was showing, the left, right, and show my portfolio versus theirs.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Compare with.
Good. As long as there's a workaround, because I like the output in the PDF. So
Yeah, excellent.
And blame Edward Jones. You should tell him. Probably they don't have that many. I think they only have Calvert funds as a choice, so maybe they didn't want any other analysis done on their statements.
I'll also add that as part of the roadmap, we'll be adding in information about values alignment as well as risk tolerance alignment as some of the new tabs that you're going to see on this checkup. So that is
Mhm.
coming soon.
So I can't resist asking this question. Have you received your subpoena from the House Judiciary Committee yet?
Nothing yet.
I haven't got anything yet. Anyone else on the team get anything in the
Yeah,
mail?
we're refusing to honor our subpoena at this time. Seems to be the play.
Yeah.
Well, hey, CalPERS has buried the committee in so many reams of paper that they'll probably still be working on it after they're all thrown out of office.
Mhm.
Hey, another question. So if you have a I had a client whose name changed because they got divorced. I couldn't figure out how to edit the name in under prospects.
Whoops, over here. So, this name changed. I think that's something that we may have to do on the back end, unless Gabe, you know of another workaround that is on the sort of client facing side, if this
Yeah.
name right here needed to change.
Yep, I can give you the short term and the long term. The short term is
Mhm.
you can let us know what change needs to be made and we can do that on the back end. The long term is actually as part of what we've been doing with the portfolio checkup, we are redesigning how we are displaying clients and prospects and their accounts, because we want to be able to allow you to run analytics, either a values report or a portfolio checkup financial report on accounts 3, 7, and 8 of a particular client, or on this household, or on a particular person within the household. So we're kind of doing a redesign of that full experience, which is when we're going to be adding in much more editability as well for everything that you see here. So in the short term, we can just make that change for you super quick. And then longer down the road, we're making this much better and more similar to probably what you're more used to seeing on your custodian or other systems to better match that long term.
Well,
Yeah.
on behalf of probably everybody on here, I am so impressed with what you have done over the years since I've been a client, and you are continuing to find new ways to add value. So I can't say there's another firm that has done quite as much as you have in the same time period.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, James.
Thanks,
Really
James.
means a lot.
Yeah.
If so, if I haven't asked you to turn on that latest tool we were looking at
Yes.
a minute ago,
Mhm.
I need to ask you to turn it on before I can go in and use it.
Yes, I was just gonna say, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
We're
I'll
going to
step
turn it
over
on
you.
for everyone that's on this call today. So
Mhm.
you'll have access to it. We're going to get your email information, and then it'll apply it to your account. Or if you have somebody else on your staff, whoever is the account associated with your firm will have access to it for sure. Yep.
Staff.
And then also the what Mike had shown earlier, the orgs. If you don't have access to that right now and you would like access to it, please reach out so we can discuss, adding it to your login or any questions that you may have about that too.
You think
And
it
the
would
company
be,
screener as well.
you think it would be advisable or inadvisable to put that questionnaire on your website? I mean, like right now, the questionnaire for prospective clients that are just poking around my website, they can click on the link and go take the questionnaire. Would that be something, in my dreams, the investment committee chair of some local foundation is going to fumble around on my website and click on this questionnaire?
So for the institutional questionnaire, it's structured a little different in that it would be really confusing. It would be confusing to non-institutional clients. And then again, those links are discrete both to the individual within the organization and the organization as a whole. So it kind of creates a confusion. But everything else on your website, including either our values picker or behavioral questionnaire that you apply, are really good indicators that you're in this line of work or within this niche, and that you could potentially help them address those needs through the institutional questionnaire at a later date.
Mhm.
I had a question about I guess the Morningstar asset class analysis.
Mhm.
In Morningstar, I have a Morningstar workstation subscription. And if you put in a portfolio there, it can create a custom blended benchmark that. So can you pull in a traditional custom blended benchmark that you can
Yes.
compare both the asset class information, like the non-ESG, and then of course the ESG data?
Yes. So the way you
Mhm.
would do that is if you have that blended benchmark that you're using already built as a portfolio, you would be able to have I would just
Morningstar creates it based on the portfolio you enter.
That you
Yeah.
upload. Mhm.
so
And yeah, I was just gonna say, we're working on that functionality to be able to read, what has been uploaded and then find the appropriate, apples to apples as best as we can be benchmark for the comparison. So Gabe, I don't want to sort of step over any bounds here, but I think what we sort of envision is having those options, here, like use the generated benchmark based upon what was uploaded, or use my own portfolio that I've created as the
Exactly
benchmark.
correct.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Just didn't know with your subscription, if like with my subscription, it'll automatically create the Morningstar blended benchmark that you could pull over,
Mhm.
yeah,
It
and that's
likely
what
wouldn't
I
be
say
the
is-
Morningstar benchmark. We would apply a similar methodology to create something similar.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
With that, it looks like we're just at time here. So I want to be respectful of everyone's schedules. Appreciate everyone's time today. Really great, thoughtful questions and comments. As Mike mentioned, we'll get the portfolio checkup added to everyone's login, and then you'll hear from us reaching out, asking for some feedback about what we can do to polish this up for how you envision using it in your practice.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much.